From Careco TV, one of the longest running outdoor programs on television today. Exploring the country and the coast in search of adventures. From the mountains of the great Northwest to the shores of the Atlantic Ocean. This is Americana Outdoors, presented by Garmin. This week on Americana Outdoors, we're tackling a task in the fishing world that can sometimes seem a little daunting if you haven't done it before: rigging out your boat. We're starting off the effort inside the shop of the San Antonio Premier Yamaha Boating Center.
When you first get a new boat, it's pretty exciting. And then as you begin to dig deeper into it, you're going to come up with a lot of questions on rigging and how you want to set things up and what's the best way to do all those things. Well, that's what this entire episode is going to be dedicated to. We're going to walk you through basically what we're looking at when we put our Yamaha on the back, how we break it in, hanging a jack plate, putting our power poles on, rigging out the batteries, talking about our chargers, and we're going to get in depth on the wiring, the transducers, the electronics, our trolling motor, and all the other little features that you're going to add to a boat. Right now I'm standing on the floor of the Premier Yamaha dealership in San Antonio as they go through some of the steps that are going to help me here. And then later on we're going to meet up with the team from Garmin as we put all the electronics onto the boat and learn a little bit more about transducer positioning, how to set up your settings, and why you want to do certain things so that you can maximize your enjoyment out on the water and hopefully catch more fish thanks to that. As you dive into any rigging effort on any new or used boat, the first thing I suggest is having a good detailed plan and an understanding of the task ahead, while also knowing what you want to get out of whatever you're adding to the boat. The little details in these efforts are key. Let's start with the mounting of the power poles. I've used power poles since they first came out on the market, and as they've evolved, I believe they are the only choice when it comes to securely holding your boat in shallow water. They are built to provide unmatched boat control in both fresh and salt water. You can easily learn more about power poles and the options for your boat by visiting them online. From there, this year we're going to be featuring Yamaha's latest addition into the SHO family of motors. This motor has already proven itself in so many places on the competitive scenes. For me personally, some of my favorite features are the ability to provide 40% more charging power, as well as this striking new cowling design, and of course always that dependability and reliability that comes with a Yamaha. You'll also notice we'll be featuring the TH Marine Atlas jack plate once again on our Ranger boat. This setup allows me to get maximum performance while out on the water in all situations. TH Marine has a variety of jack plates that are easily available, and you can learn more about them by visiting their website. As I mentioned before, rigging a new boat or an old one is a daunting task, which is why dealers are obviously your best choice for a lot of these things to accomplish it. They've got the right tools and can ensure maximal value and performance on the water. As always, you've got any questions, you can ask them.
Coming up, the Garmin Technical Staff is going to give us a step-by-step walkthrough of rigging out Wade's brand new Ranger Z bass boat with Garmin electronics. Stay tuned.
You have a full-time job and you want to be a full-time angler. Don't waste time scouting. You want to catch fish. That's where Garmin comes in. Our mapping with Navionics data lets you see more detail than the fish do. It's kind of a big deal. Oh, and our industry-leading live sonar is so crisp and clear you'll think you jumped in. You're welcome. Now, if only we had a powerful, efficient, whisper-quiet trolling motor. Actually, we do. It's called Force. We knew you'd like that. Less time finding, more time catching fish. Only with Garmin.
When there's miles of water in front of you and hundreds of feet below, you need a boat with the chops to dominate, no matter the conditions. With the strength and technology to overcome the elements and the competition. Ranger boats, still building legends, one at a time.
Welcome back to Americana Outdoors, presented by Garmin.
You know, I think a lot of people are a little bit intimidated by the rigging process on different pieces of electronics, and we spent a lot of time recently with the Garmin Technical Staff to try to create a lot of information that's going to help people understand really how easy it is to rig up and set up the Garmin LiveScope transducers, the units to be able to communicate however you want. And to me, a lot of the features are just as simple as being able to read, adjust, push buttons, and run some of the wires. But these guys, they've rigged hundreds and thousands of top touring pros boats over the years, and they've learned a lot of tricks. So let's learn more from the team at Garmin now.
We're rigging a brand new Ranger boat for Wade, and it's going to have 4 graphs on it. It's going to have a NMEA Network, a Garmin Marine Network, a forced trolling motor. It'll have all the Garmin bells and whistles when we get done with this boat. These are all the 6-foot drop cables. I need one of these for each one of the 4 graphs and for the GPS modules. So we're going to start building our NMEA network at the bow and work our way back to the transom. This is a 120 ohm terminator, and you're required to have one of these at both ends of your NMEA network. So now we're going to hook up our short cables, and they just go right onto the multi-port T, same as the Terminator did. The only difference between these and the Terminator goes on the horizontal leg of your T. And this is a backbone cable. It also comes out of the horizontal side of the T right here. And this is how we're going to get our communication from the bow of the boat to the console of the boat to the transom of the boat for any NMEA device. Here's something that's real important. You actually need larger wires to the front of the boat to be able to carry the current load required to run everything up here. And Ranger has done a very good job here of running number 6 wire. They run that from the battery or from the brain box at the console up to the bow for us, so that keeps us from having to repower the front of the boat. Then they run it into this block and jump it out into their barrier strip. So now that gives me the good, clean, heavy-duty current to this barrier strip that'll carry that load. Okay, so what I'm doing here is looking for the place to mount my GPS 24 GPS module and heading sensor, and where I like to put them on a Ranger is right here in the bend of the boat, right on the gunnel. So we're going to get up in here, we're going to check under the gunnel right here to be sure this is not full of flotation foam, and if it's not, then we'll actually set up our diagram here, mark our holes, drill them, and mount the module. So we've looked under the hull here, under the top cap, and this is an open area here to where we can reach up under this to connect the cable to it. The product comes with a template in it. You just cut the template out, set it on whatever your clear location is, and then use a small hole saw to cut the center hole for the cable to connect to the T and the module on the other end. Now it's going to go around and connect into this T here, and so now the module just goes down, and this is where the set screw is going to go into the bracket. So you just clicks into place. Now we put the set screw in it, and we're done. So we have a multi-port T here, and we're going to utilize 3 of the 4 devices. Then we'll run the backbone back. We've got our terminator up here on this end of the network. Our backbone goes all the way back here to another multi-port T at the console, and we have a drop here for one of the graphs at the console. Here's a drop for the second graph at the console, here and here. Our yellow cable is our power. It has a black for the negative, a shield, and a positive with a 3-amp fuse in it. Then we've got a backbone coming out the other side. It goes back to the stern, where we have 2 T's back here and our last terminator at the very end. This connection right here is for a temperature sensor, which will go in the live well. And this one here is for this GPS module, which we've already ran in there. We'll just screw it onto this T. And then we'll tuck our tees up under the gunnel here so that they stay dry and out of harm's way. And if we need to get to them, we know where they're at.
We've got our backbone cable. The female right here is going towards the stern of the boat. We got our other backbone cable running up to the bow. Rangers provided us some zip tie anchors so we can take this whole NMEA backbone and secure it right inside the console. Coil all our cables up and make sure they're nice and secured. They won't break loose while we're running across the lake.
We're all ready to connect up the bow to our NMEA network. This is our backbone cable, runs through the tube to the console. We're going to connect it up to our multi-port T. Here's our terminator. So we're all complete here. This will get zip tied down in here. Each one of these legs, one of them will go to our GPS module, one of them will go to one of the graphs, and one of them will go to the other graph. We're good to go.
Now that we have our NMEA network all set up, we'll move on to installing a 50-inch Garmin Force trolling motor after this short break.
The Yamaha VMAX V6 SHO continues to deliver the level of performance that pro bass and multi-species anglers demand. Underneath a bold and aggressive new look, an upgraded charging system with 40% more charging power meets the amped-up demand for today's advanced electronics. The VMAX SHO, raw power, reliability, and exhilarating performance for every angler who loves the sport enough to invest in the best. Yamaha, reliability starts here.
TH Marine has been producing top-of-the-line marine accessories to rig boats from transom to trolling motor for decades. From jack plates to fish care to LEDs, TH Marine has you covered. TH Marine, outfitting your boat from transom to trolling motor.
Welcome back to Americana Outdoors, presented by Garmin. The next focus in rigging out Wade's new boat is installing the 50-inch Garmin Force trolling motor. You'll want to make sure the bumper hangs over the bow by about 1.5 inches and ensure that the bracket is not leaning off the side of the boat when it's stowed. Before you begin drilling, make sure you've placed the trolling motor strap underneath the mount. After you have the mount placed where you want it, it's time to begin drilling your holes. Once your holes are drilled and screws are placed, alternate your bolt pattern to ensure the bracket comes down nice and flat. With the trolling motor bracket mounted, the next step is to attach the trolling motor to the bracket.
It's important to push this pin in by hand without hammers or tools. Okay, now we'll pull the trolling motor up and we'll install our lift assist springs on the top, one on the bottom. So now we'll put our top of the bracket on and our top pin on. Before we secure this pin, I like to hook up my E-box to the servo. Now we'll route our transducer cable and our power cable through the cable channel of the bracket.
After running the power cables, install cable tie brackets. Set a loop in the cable for bracket flexibility and install the prop of the trolling motor.
We're fixing to mount the LVS 32. That's the live scope transducer.
When installing the LVS 32 transducer, it's crucial to note the up arrows on the bottom of the mounting bracket to install the transducer in the correct direction, giving the transducer a 7-degree angle so the arrays look to the side of the trolling motor. Also, be mindful where you place the transducer on the unit to avoid impeding the ability to use the storage strap. When installation is finished, the arrays of the transducer should be parallel with the side of the trolling motor.
So we're fixing to attach the cable to the shaft, and we don't use any zip ties on this cable. We tape all of this cable.
All right, so we've got it secured to the shaft. Now we need to leave a little bit of loop for the actual turning of the trolling motor. We want to secure this cable to our bracket so that it won't get pinched when the trolling motor is deployed. So I like to leave about a 3-inch radius loop there and secure it right to our stabilizer mount bracket. I will use zip tie here, but I keep the zip tie very loose.
This is your cable track, and your 12-pin transducer runs through that, comes out this end. We do actually run a zip tie at both ends of this to pull those cables together put a little loop in it here, a little loop in it here, and that's what gets us into the bow area. And that's real clean. The trolling motor will deploy or stow, and the cable will stay out of harm's way.
Now it's time to test the power to the trolling motor and pair it to the foot pedal.
We turn the breaker on the boat. The trolling motor beeped. That tells us that we've got power, and we got 3 green lights.
Hit the power key 3 times, and the pairing light will turn blue. Push and hold the anchor lock on the foot pedal to finish pairing.
Okay, now all I'm doing there is just testing to be sure it's turning, and then I hit the speed dial, and it indicates that the speed is turning up. You do have to hold the trolling motor over to have the foot pedal respond to it. There's a safety feature in it that it won't allow that to work until it comes over. So it's all paired now.
Coming up, we'll set up our graphs and hit the water to wrap up rigging out Wade's new Ranger Z Bass boat with Garmin electronics.
Attention anglers, are you looking for soft tubes or craws? How about big jigs, little jigs, and shaky heads of all sorts and sizes? Do you want some sweet swim jigs that you can take all across the country? When's the last time you stocked up on frogs, wacky rigs, or big old lead shakers? Maybe you just need a few swim bait heads, finesse jigs, and some good old stupid tube jig heads. You'll find all that and more fishing gear when you go online and shop the entire selection of secret lures now.
There's no feeling like it. When you've prepped the gear, done the research, found the spot, nailed the presentation, and now there's only one thing left to do. Keep fishing. So gear up with all the best fishing gear. Only at Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's. Shop in-store or online.
Welcome back to Americana Outdoors, presented by Garmin.
So we're going to go over updating your EchoMap graphs, and you can download the updates on Garmin's website to an SD card no bigger than a 32 gigabyte. That's going to be key, because if you try to put it on something bigger, it's not going to take in the graphs. So we're going to insert the card. It's going to come up and ask to update software, and then you're going to yes. And the update is going to go through, it's going to update your graphs, your live scope, black box, your GLS-10. It's going to update your GPS pucks, your heading sensor. And as you can see here, we've got each unit labeled. You've got Constar, you got your bow. So it's telling you which graph that it's updating right now. And the nice thing is each unit is tied together. So it updates all the units on your boat if they are networked together. So we're 100% now. So it's asking you here to restart your devices. I'm gonna push agree as soon as it comes on. And it's gonna ask you to accept the built-in maps. Accept. It's gonna bring you to your home page. And we can come in after it's done. You can come into system information, software information, and it will give you all the information on the graph. It's at 18.2 right now, which gives you the latest update.
All right, so we just got done updating our units to the current software. Now we want to insert a data card so we can save our waypoints, maybe screenshots from our sonar. So I'm going to go ahead and put a data card into this other unit here. So first thing, we've done this, but go into communications, marine network, and we've labeled all of our graphs so that we know which graph we're referencing. This is my console port graph. This is my console starboard graph that I've named under my marine devices. So I'm gonna go back here to navigational info. I'm gonna go to manage data, and I'm gonna select preferred memory card for each graph. Same on this other graph, I'm gonna go on this one, navigational info, manage data, preferred memory card 1, and that's that. Now I'll go up to the bow and I'll open my nav info page on that graph, go to manage data, and I'll select my preferred memory card, and I'll hit console starboard slot 1, which will reference this memory card back here to save all my waypoints and sonar images. Now this is important because you don't want to clutter your map card, which has a bunch of navigation data on it. You don't want to cover that card up with your waypoints and your images, which could potentially slow down the processor. I like to keep them separate. That way when I'm pulling a card out to take and view on another graph, I know I can take that and leave my map with the boat.
Well, after getting Wade's boat rigged and the chart set up, it's time to hit the water and calibrate the Garmin Force Trolling Motor Compass.
The first thing I'll do is I'll set the bow offset, and what that does is it sets that trolling motor head in line with the keel of the boat. So to do that, I'll get out my remote, I'll hit the menu button, which is the 3 bars. I'll go down to settings, right arrow to select settings, trolling motor, down to calibrate, and then down to bow offset. I'll turn the trolling motor head till it's parallel with the keel, and then I'll down arrow to set it. Our next calibration is going to be to calibrate the internal compass in the trolling motor itself. I went back into the menu page, down to settings, trolling motor, calibrate, compass, and then it gives you instructions. We're going to turn the boat 2 full circles, and it gives you a meter bar. Doing this compass calibration, you really want to find a nice calm bay, somewhere with not a lot of rocking and rolling, and somewhere you can perform a pretty tight circle with the trolling motor. It only takes about 1.5 turns, and watching the meter bar on your remote will tell you how far you are to completion. So after I get both of those calibrations set, I like to go out anywhere where I've got a good wind or current to test how the test the functionality of the trolling motor. I'll get pointed in somewhere where I have some force pushing on the boat, and I'll just hit anchor lock from the foot pedal.
Another nifty new feature of the Force Trolling Motor is automatic stowing of the prop when lifted out of the water.
We'll go into the remote, hit menu, down to settings, trolling motor, and we'll scroll down to prop side, right click, and from here you can select left or right by selecting which side and hitting the right arrow. As you can see now, when we pick up the trolling motor, it's going to auto stow prop side right and not harm our live scope transducer.
Now let's take a look at how to set up your live scope unit and personalize it to your fishing preferences, starting with manually setting the orientation.
I'll open up my Panoptic screen, I'll hit menu, sonar setup, installation, orientation, and I'll select forward. Now while we're out bouncing and rolling in the waves, it will always stay in forward mode. Okay, so now if it's, we've manually set it in forward mode, but if you want to take it out of that, say you want to go out and really play with your transducer in different view settings, I'll take it out of manual mode, I'll hit menu, sonar setup, installation, orientation, and now I can put it back in auto, or I can put it into any of the other 2 orientation options. Garmin has introduced a depth button for live scope right on the front of your Panoptic screen. As you can see on our graph, we've got it set really deep here. So only a quarter or a third of our screen is actually showing the water column, and all the rest of this is wasted on showing the bottom. It's really easy to go in and change that. You can take your unit out of auto depth and then turn it into manual, and just bump that button until you're really maximizing the height of your screen. You can still see the bottom and fish sucked around here.
That's a wrap on our coverage of how to rig your bass boat. We hope this episode answered any and all questions about boat rigging. And don't forget, you can head on over to OutdoorAction.com and the Americana Outdoors YouTube channel for extended cuts of what you saw today, and for more tips and tricks from the pros. Hey, thank you for watching, and join us next week on a new episode of Americana Outdoors. Americana Outdoors is a Careco TV production. This episode was made possible by these partners.
Things you let me see. You let me see.
we don't have a large laboratory to test baits. Why, you ask? We don't need a big laboratory because our pros fish, our employees fish, our owners fish, and our kids fish. This is our laboratory. Our R&D comes from time on the water. All that time on the water brings us thousands of hours of testing new products and improving current ones for all species. Big Bite Baits, designed to bring the big bite to your line.
Born in Japan, FC Sniper became the #1 fluorocarbon line in the Japanese market. It transitioned to the US in the early 2000s and continues to grow in prominence with anglers. FC Sniper is the flagship product in the American market and bestseller. It features the perfect blend of abrasion resistance, low memory, and tensile strength. FC Sniper is offered in pound tests that range from 2 pound to 30 pound and in spool sizes up to 1,200 yards. FC Sniper has the strength to guarantee your confidence.
From sun up to sundown, day in and day out, we work hard. We play hard. And to keep us going during those long hours, we demand performance. Angle Coolers, the original high-performance cooler.